Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's MacklinGaming, and a couple weeks ago I made a video between two new games that came out on the same day. It was Assassin's Creed Shadows and Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I was like, which one should I buy? Took a look at both, gameplay trailers and stuff. I decided ultimately to buy Xenoblade Chronicles X. So over the last few weeks I've been playing this game. I had a spring break week where I was out of town and I played this game exclusively. I brought my Switch. This is the only game I played. So I got a good 40 hours, 50 hours in a week. And I'm a little bit farther than that now, but I want to give my review on Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, right? This is a 10-year-old game that came out for the Wii U. 10 years later here, ported to the Switch, better resolution, better frame rate, I believe. It's still 30, but it's smoother 30. And I want to talk about this game. I've played a couple of the other Xenoblades, and I want to see how this one compares to Xenoblade 2 and 3, which are the ones that I have played. So let's get into it. Alright, starting out in Xenoblade Chronicles X, you are in a sci-fi RPG, and Earth is being attacked by two different alien factions, and the humans there, they have no choice but they have to flee. So you get to create your character, which is different from the other Xenoblade games where you're a named protagonist. So I think that's pretty cool. But after you create your character in the character creation menu, you are one of those humans that has to leave the planet, flee Earth, and find another planet to inhabit. So you get in your ship with a couple of friends there. I think Elma is one of them. And your ship takes off from Earth, and you're flying through space, and you get shot down on a different planet called Mira. And that is where Xenoblade Chronicles X takes place. So the planet, let's talk about the world that you're in. It is a massive open world. People say it's bigger than Breath of the Wild's open world, which I believe it in the size of the map, But in terms of the interactivity within the open world, Xenoblade Chronicles X, it looks gorgeous, but you don't get that interactivity. You can't set things on fire, and then the fire creates an updraft of wind, all that realistic physics stuff that Breath of the Wild has. Xenoblade doesn't have that, but it has stunning visuals out in the horizon. If you're looking around the map, it has just glorious visuals for a Switch game and really for a Wii U game. How did they get this stuff to fit on the Wii U and the Switch? Beautiful looking world for a Nintendo RPG. As you're playing through the game, you have to explore this new planet Mira, and you can do surveys out in the open world, and you got to do a lot of quests. There's a lot of different kinds of quests. There's 3 different categories of side quests, and there's the main quest. So for the side quests, you have the basic missions, which you get at this one computer terminal that can kind of unlock new things for you. You can have cats and dogs at your barracks, which is your home base area. Other basic missions can help you get better skills and help you get better flying skills and all this stuff. So the basic missions, you don't want to overlook them. They seem like they're not important, but you want to try and do as many as you can because you might unlock some new things in the game. But besides the basic missions, then you've got your side missions, which I just say are the green question marks on the map. That's where you go to get your quests, wherever there's a question mark. And the green ones are just your ordinary side quests. And those are okay. Some of them aren't great because it's just a fetch quest. But other ones, can involve different characters, different companions, and it can be a good time. But I think the best side content, the best quests are the affinity quests, which are orange markers on the map. And those are the ones that really bring out your companions, and the stories usually take place or revolve around your certain ally companions. So you get a bunch in this game. It's a party of you and 3 other companions, but you can switch them in and out. So you really get up to 15 or 20 companions that you can move around in your party. So the affinity quests, they really help boost your rapport or your affinity between that character of whoever the quest is about. So once you get better affinity, you can do heart-to-heart moments, which aren't really quests, but they're just pop-up moments around the map, and you can talk to your characters and get better connections between them. So you've got all these side quests to do, and you can spend hours and hours doing them. Are they fun? Well, yeah, like I said, the affinity missions I think are really fun and interesting, but I feel like a lot of the side quests to just be fetch quests. Sometimes it's like you just go out, they're like, oh, please help me get this. And you go out into the map, out into the world, and you go to the little exclamation objective marker, and it's just like an item on the ground. You pick it up, and then the quest says, go back to the city. So like you just went in and out. You know, it's kind of lame, but this was, again, like 10 years ago. You know, the open world genre was still evolving. You know, this isn't like revolutionary side quest content. I wouldn't say this is up to par with like The Witcher 3 or anything like that. But, you know, it's still, there's tons to do in this game, tons of quests to keep you busy. But how's the main story? Well, it's like your classic sci-fi story. You know, I don't think it's bad, but it's just going to be very straightforward. You know, there's aliens, evil alien races, and you as the humans have to stand up to them. And you have to try and save the remaining planet Mira that you're on, and hopefully ultimately save Earth and defeat the evil aliens. But that's pretty, you know, straightforward, classic RPG, sci-fi RPG, I should say. So I don't hate it. I don't hate the story. You know, the quests are good. It's definitely not the best Xenoblade story, though. I think 3 is outstanding. So 3 is definitely a better story here than X, but X is about the gameplay. So let's talk about that. The combat in this game is really enjoyable. It's really fun. So when you're out there fighting in a battle, right at the start, you'll just start auto battling. So your character, all the characters will just auto attack their basic attacks throughout the whole battle, chipping away at the health. What you want to do is strategically use your abilities, which are down at the bottom of the screen, in your little like active abilities where you can do bigger damage, which some of them stagger the enemy, some abilities topple the enemy, and you want to get them in the right order in order to really like make them vulnerable to bigger damage. So you want to, if you have an ability that does stagger, you want to use that, and then you can use the ability that inflicts topple, and then they're toppled over, ready to take big damage, and then you just start going off with the other abilities that'll do bigger damage. But there's different ways to make your enemies more vulnerable to big damage, and it's super fun at first, and then as you play and you keep going, it's just kind of like, it gets to be like auto muscle memory. You know, you get into a fight, you're auto battling, you know what order you want to hit your abilities in, and then you just go for it. But it gets more fun when you start changing up your weapons and when you get skells. So what is a skell? Skells are mechs, like giant robotic weapons that look like humanoids, you know? And you, as your human character, can climb into this mech, this big robot machine of death, and you can run around the world and attack enemies in your mechs, in your skells, as they call it in this game. And your 3 companions can also have skells. But when do you first get a skell? Well, you definitely don't get it anywhere near the start of this game. So that's the thing, you really got to earn it in this game. You got to play like 25 hours. You have to get past a bunch of main story chapters, like at least up to like chapter 5 or 7 or something like that. And after that, then you can get the mission to earn your license to get a skell. And that mission itself is like 8 parts long. So you really earn it. Once they say, hey, you can operate these skells and take them out around the world and battle in them, then you really earned it. So once I did that, I felt like super accomplished. And it doesn't disappoint. You know, you come out with your skell and you can reach higher levels of altitude in the map. Like some quest objectives are so far away and it's like, I don't know how to get up there. It's crazy. Once you have your skell, you can start jumping up like higher ledges and finding easier ways to get around the map and get to your objective marker. So the skell really opens up the game. It changes the combat. Like you have different abilities now, and you can all just like go to pound town on these enemies here. So to wrap it up, if I do explain Xenoblade Chronicles X in like one sentence to someone, I would say it's like Mass Effect meets Final Fantasy in Nintendo world. You know, it's like a Nintendo's version of Final Fantasy. I feel that way about Xenoblade as a whole because each installment is like unrelated to the last one and they're all different. But this one in particular has like a Mass Effect Halo feel because of the sci-fi outer space setting, right? But like as a whole, I think Xenoblade's kind of like Nintendo's Final Fantasy series. So what do I think about the game overall? Great combat, decent story, great exploration. Sometimes it's hard to reach quest markers, you know, and a lot of the side quests can be kind of just fetch quests. So given all of that, I would give this game an 8 out of 10 for me. I know a lot of people will give it something higher, but I feel like that higher rating goes to Xenoblade 3 for me. I love that one the most. But Xenoblade X, super cool game. Awesome to go around in the scales and explore this beautiful planet. What do you think about the game? Are you going to play Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.